Welcome to Shipp's Tips, episode 25. Now, there's nothing better than coming to a lake in the sun, in the warm, when the fish are feeding, and catch them down in the margin over a ground bait. And that's what this Shipp Tips is going to be about. But one of the most important parts of that is what ground bait you're going to use. Now, I've got the new Mega Carp Method Mix. That's what this ground bait has been designed for. So it's got a high feed content, it's got big particles in it, and it sinks like an absolute stone. And that's what you want when you're trying to catch these crafty big carp in the margins. And let me tell you something, at Cob House, there's lots of big carp in these lakes, and I'm hoping to catch a few for the cameras. Now, important is, what colour ground bait? The first thing I noticed at Cob House, these lakes are very coloured, so they're very brown. If not, some actually are quite reddy colour, or the lakes I'm fishing anyway. And that's where I think, having three different colours, I've got the natural and I've also got the red with me today. First thing that I thought, from fishing for England years and years and years, when we used to go to coloured waters, ground bait, red ground bait especially, come into its own. And that's exactly what I'm going to be mixing up. So they're exactly the same. There's three different colours in that range. It's green, natural and red. But because of the colour of the water today, I've opted for the red. It's lovely. And I'm sure these carp are going to respond. I can't wait. I'm going to go and mix the ground bait up now and show you how to mix this, because it is actually very different to what we've already produced at Sonubaits. We've got lots of different ground baits in the range, but this stuff needs mixing slightly different. And that's what I'm going to do now, is get over to me ground bait bowls and show you exactly how to mix this stuff up. Mixing the ground bait is really, really important, especially what I'm going to be doing today is fishing it down the edge. Obviously you can do the same as you're fishing on a method feeder, but getting it right, and I've come up with a nice little way of doing this, like I do with all my ground baits really. A lot of the Sonu ground baits you can mix like a pint of water to 2 pints of ground bait. On this one you can't, because of all the feed content, because of all the bigger particles. You've just got to do it this way and it comes out perfectly and easy. Now, let's go through it. I've always used a little bit, but there's 6 pints of ground bait in that, like there is in all the Sonubait 2 kilos bags of ground bait. And what I try and do, you can mix it all up. I'm only going to use 3 pints today because I'm only here for a couple of hours. I know I'm going to be dosing it in. So I've got a 3 pint container. So fill that up roughly to the top. It doesn't have to be exact, a tiny little bit more. So that's that. Now, because of them bigger particles in the feed content, I only add 1 pint of water. So I've got a 1 pint container, and I've worked it out that it actually mixes perfectly. So just under that 1 pint, that's like a 1.2 container, so just under. Stick it straight in, don't mess around, and it will go like a bit of a soup straight away. So it's real heavy, sticky, and that's what this ground bait's all about. But when that water goes in, that's how quick it takes it in, straight away. So all them, the bigger particles, the bits of pellet that are left in there, they take that straight on, and you can tell straight away the weight of that is mega, and this sinks like a brick down the inside. You can pot it in, bosh, but like I said, equally as good around a method feeder, especially in the warmer months with all those particles in. The fish absolutely love it. And the same process is that I do now. I leave that, I'm going to set a little bit of kit up, 15-20 minutes, put that through a normal blue Preston riddle, and it's job done. You can use it. It's that easy. So just remember, 3 pints of ground bait to just under 1 pot of water. You ain't got to worry about it. Get on with setting your kit up, 20 minutes through a riddle, job done. Right, let's finish the ground bait off. I've just got it on top of my riddle there. Now, what you'll find with this Mega Carp Method Mix is it doesn't lose its moisture at all. So even on a hot day like this, windy, it keeps its moisture in. So it's really good for just fishing in conditions like I am today. And it's really simple to push through. Like, I've left this for probably 20 minutes, set my kit up. So just push that through first off. And I can honestly say, since I've been using this ground bait, I've not really added any more water to it, because it does keep its moisture in. So push that through, as easy as that. beautiful mix in there. Like I said, plenty of feed, bigger particles, perfect, ready to go. Let's get that in that EVA bowl. So 3 pints of ground bait will basically give you, I think that's a 3 litre tub, 3 litres of ground bait. So that's quite a lot, do you know what I mean? So it's enough for what I'm doing today anyway. And I'm going to be quite aggressive today. I'm not going to start off with big pot in it. I'm going to see how they respond and then take it from there. So there you go. Let's talk about the rigs. Rigs are simple. I'm only fishing in the edges today. First things first, elastic. Obviously here where I'm fishing, there's big carp. They're well into double figures. I've opted for a 17 drawer. I could step up to a 19, but I love 17 because it does like let them go off a little bit, and I like that. I've got a big cad pot on there because that's what I'm going to start with, but I've also got one of the mega cad pots, because let me tell you something, some of the venues I go to, when you're catching the marlins over ground bait, you need to be putting one of them in very, very regularly indeed. I've got 021 mainline power line. I've got one of my favourite 4x14 carp shallows. Can't beat them little floats. They're mega strong and they're really good for fishing in shallow water. I've got a little simple strung out bolt there of number 9s down to a 6-inch length of 019 power line. So it actually suits what I'm doing. And I've got a size 14 XS02 hook. So everything is set up for catching big carp down the margins. Obviously I've got a power top there. Really important as well, I've got one of the new hookups on. You know, if you don't know what they are, it's where you put your hook in. Really important to keep your elastic in that pole. You can adjust these up, you know, going up and down your pole. Really important to stop your elastic being damaged in the sun. So there you go, I'm ready to go. I can't wait. And let's catch some carp. Got a nice carp on now. I've started not with the big pot, but with, or I mean not the big pot. It's just a large cad pot, because I don't want to go down there straight away with a big pot. Now it might change, and some days you don't need to put a big pot in. If they're willing to have a go, oh, that's a nice fish. I put nothing else in. That's the nice thing about that ground bait, is the particles are already in there for you, so there's no messing. So this is my second carp. I've only been going for like 15 minutes, so I think we're gonna have a proper good day. Nice big common. Not bad for the first 15 minutes. And I'm actually fishing something that I don't fish that often down the edge on, these hard pellets. There's something that I think we probably miss out on, even though we're fishing with ground bait. I've got a couple of tins of F1 corn with me as well, but when I first went in, I did have a few roach, and the roach are pretty big, to be honest. I'll probably have one a pound, but you might get that at the start of your session. So in a moment, I'm just putting a band on. So I'm just hooking the band, so I can go from that to corn. Obviously, various different other hook baits that you can use. So I'm just feeding that big cab pot. It's not the mega one. I'm just tapping that ground bait out, just about 18 inches away from actually fishing. And I'm just fishing a really short line. Oh, got a bit of something on me up there. Fishing a nice short line, so really I don't really have to strike, I can just lift. And you can vary that, you know, some venues, if you go, you get lots of bites, you're missing them. As long as the rules allow, is get that line nice and straight, especially when you're fishing short like I am. 4x14 float, so straight down, really positive, like that. There's a few roach about as well, but I'm trying to keep that line nice and tight like that. Get into a little rhythm. That literally just dragged the elastic out. There's a few roach there. I thought that was a roach, it's not, it's a carp. Ooh, look at that going off. Got some sections behind me as well, because there is fish in here well into double figures. They just love that ground bait this time of year. When they come, there's nothing better. I go to lots of venues in the country, and when they come over that ground bait, and it's got me out of a lot of sticky situations, ground bait fishing, I'll tell you, when I've actually doing a tough area and you've done your normal thing down the edge and it ain't happening, that's when you can dose a load of ground bait in and it can transform your peg. It's amazing. And for me, a lot of people say to me, look Des, when does ground bait really start working? For me, it probably works probably all round, but when pace starts working, that's when ground bait in the edges work the best, I think. And I would say at the moment there's a bit of pace fishing about, and that sort of gives you a bit of clue of, you can then put the ground bait down the edges, it'll probably work. Depending on which obviously different venues you go to. Definitely need that 17 on. You can probably see from the camera actually how dirty this water is, and that's why I opted for that red mix. I'm surprised how much ground bait you can go through, even with a big cab pot like that. And I would have thought, at the moment, we're catching this early, you're going to have to feed really regular. I mean, I literally go in there, if I don't get a bite within a minute or an indication, he'll be back. Put another pot full in, and I can change the size of my pot to suit what's going on. Big commons again. Not happy. Bad net in that. I think my right arm is going to get an absolute battering today. Ooh, stop it. Must admit, that's my third carp, and if they all fight like this, I'm glad I changed my elastic. That's a nice fish actually, that. It's tangled around his fin at the minute. Got to go quick careful when they get travel around their fins like that. Oh. Get that. Yes. That's a nice fish, that. Ooh. It's going to be a bit of a workout today, I think. Come on, maybe turn around. What a beautiful fish that is. Let's get that out. Nice fish, just hold him up. It was a nice fish, that. Still got the band on. Not going to keep him out because it is it's going to be an extremely hot day today. But there you go. That's a typical carp, margin carp down the edge, over ground bait. Different up baits. Sticking with hard pellet at the moment because there's a few roach about. And never forget that. Hard pellet on the hook over ground bait, not a problem. No different if you were fishing a method feeder. Let's get him back. So go through the same process again. Make sure your hook's all nice and clean. It's got a medium Preston pellet band on there. 6mm pellet. Probably could have done with a few 8s. I didn't bring any 8s, but 8s could have been good today. Let me just adjust that elastic a little bit with the bead. I'm just putting that ground bait in. It's not dried out at all. That's what's so lovely about that as well. You ain't got to mess about. Like I said, short line between the float and the elastic. Just out a little bit. Tap that in. I've only just started, so I'm trying to get into the swing of it, and then because there's a few silvers about, you can just do that. Wouldn't mind catching one of those pound roach on camera. Little fish that was. Just a tiny, tiny little lift. Like that, that's all you need. That's what I do when I'm getting plenty of indications. Obviously some of it's silvers. If it was a carp, it don't matter. You just lift like that and that would be on. They drag the elastic out. Ooh. Come back and feed again. We lined up with that little overflow pipe. Like that. Just come just inside of it. Ooh. There you go. Lovely. Oh, what's that? It feels like a big tench. Now, am I right? Definitely feels like a tench, that. I can normally tell with them because they sort of fight like a bit like an eel. I think I might be wrong. Yes, I was right. I thought it was a tench when I hooked it. Look at him go. He's not happy about the situation. Nice tench. Nothing wrong with that. Look at him. 2.5 pound. 6mm hard pellet. And I think as we get going, obviously them fish will probably clear off. Let's just change that pellet. And then we'll just be into the carp as they get going. Just a little tiny, just to get enough down there. I don't really want to sort of make any noise really. If there's a few silvers around, we'll try and make as less noise as possible. So I'm just inside that ground bait. It's lovely clean bottom there. When I plumbed up with a plummet, it was like rock solid. Ooh, what's that? I think that's a skimmer. I don't mind them down the edge. Especially during a match. Look at that. Lovely skimmer, that. Oh, it's like absolute sandpaper. Look at that. Absolutely pristino. Even them come down the edges. So I'm just going to carry on with this. It's great fishing. But like I said, you'd be surprised how much bait you go through even with a cab pot like that. Especially when you're feeding every few minutes. Whether it's going to be a day to day of picking up the big pot, like the big 250mm pot, I don't know. If the fish are willing to feed, which I think they probably will be looking at this, then sort of setting a trap might not be the way to go. It'd be like fishing your peg, introducing bait all the time, especially when there's a few silvers about as well, but that could change. Oh yes, I knew there was one there. I love that. When you get that nod in, always comes straight towards me, that one. I'm not sure how big that is. It's settled right down now. Them few little silvers we had there at the start have gone, and now it's one a chuck. It is fantastic fishing. There is nothing better than catching big carp down the edge. Still on that 6mm hard pellet. It's nothing. Sometimes I'll do that if I'm getting a few little fish, and I can always go back to corn and that later on. But I'm just sticking with hard pellet at the moment. But feeding, let's talk about the feeding. I've got to feed literally all the time. I reckon the longest I've left it in there is 3 minutes. So I'm back, another big cab pot full of ground bait. Go in, and you get, it's like fishing the method field. I've always said to people, look, when you fish down the edge some days, it's like fishing a method. You chuck out, you get a little, you know, you get a few indications. Sometimes you don't catch one. Oh, that's a lovely fish, that is. Obviously, if it went a bit dead, I pick this big pot up, which is my big sort of pole pot, if you like. Give that like maybe sort of a whole pot full, and then do something else for 5 minutes. Even have a cup of tea if you're pleasure fishing. And then I'll guarantee you now they'll be straight back in it. But today, completely different. They've been feeding, they've been wanting to feed, and it's nice just to fish with a nice big cab pot like that and keep putting it in and just getting it in your head how long you sort of leave it without coming back. Honestly, I can't even begin to tell you how hard these fish I've been fighting today. They're absolutely insane. I've had fish from £4 to £9 or £10. This is a good fish. Big common. You know, nice elastic. 17's been absolutely bang on today. You don't pull out of any. That's the nice thing about it. And that ground bait's been superb. Even though we've been sat here, it's still bang on. Even though it's been really hot, sunny, bit windy, it's kept its moisture in. It sinks so quickly. Let's get it in the net. Yes! Let's get that. What a great carp to finish the session off. And to finish number 25 of Shipp's Tips. Ooh, let's get on for double figures. I'm going to try and hold him up, but let me tell you, these fish are not happy. I tried to hold a couple up for camera already and I failed because they are so wiry, but I'll try it with this one. Look at that. Oh, it might be £10 actually, that. What a great edge carp to finish this film off. Absolutely brilliant. Don't get better. I'm staying on. You guys have got to go, but I'm staying on because when I get bagging down the edge on these, I can't go home. I absolutely love it. Let's get him back. Fantastic fishing, honestly. Perfect. So there you go. Nice and simple down the edge. The only thing I probably would have changed you know, if you go to a venue, and a lot of the time we got dead maggots, we got corn. When I started off, I was getting a little bit sort of, had a few roach in me peg and all that, and I went to hard pellet, and I've stuck with hard pellet. Hard pellet can be brilliant. You know, if it's a nice short line, you know, you get a bite, you just lift rather than striking, because you're wasting your time if you're up and down all the time. And hard pellet's been absolutely superb. So try that one as well, because that's a good tip. If it was different today, I could have put corn in the mix and started fishing single, double corn on the hook, and even some like double worm. I've not brought any worms. I've literally got my ground bait, I've got some pellets, and I've got a tin, and I've got corn. So there you go. It's been brilliant. I'm going to carry on for a few hours. I hope you've enjoyed it. Get out on the bank, get the ground bait into the margins. You'll have a great day. And don't forget to like and subscribe on the Sonubaits YouTube channel for great videos like this one. Thanks for watching.